Okay, this is lesson 5 of A-level Buddhism. We've had 5 lessons in this Unit 3.2 course on Mahayana Buddhism, and this is the final lesson. So we need to bring together not only Mahayana Buddhism, but Mahayana and Theravada Buddhism in comparing and contrasting both of them. So you need to know lots of key terms. You need to explain the acts of devotion, key teachings, especially in Theravada and Mahayana, and you'd analyze different types and differences between the two types of Buddhism. So look at this symbol. This is the symbol of the 3 jewels, a very easy way to get hold of Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism. Is what unites them, what is common to all of them, and it is these 3 jewels: the Dharma, the Sangha, and the Buddha. All 3 are committed to these 3 things, but not all 3 agree. They don't all agree on what these mean. So we can use this as a helpful structure in any sort of 30-mark or larger essay. Just a few introductory remarks about Mahayana and Theravada. It's a very complex and diverse tradition. It's evolved over a period of 2,500 years. It's travelled around the globe, it's changed, it's adapted. And it's usual to divide Buddhism into these 2 main groups, but we could divide into 3 divisions. There's Theravada, which is a living tradition today that claims to descend from early Buddhism. We'll look at that later. Mahayana, which is a family of traditions that began to emerge around the Common Era, alongside many new scriptures, and it assumed a great importance in Central and East Asia. And then there is this 3rd yana, this 3rd vehicle, Vajra, Diamond Way Buddhism. It combines Mahayana philosophy with esoteric ritual and became dominant in the Himalayan region, Tibetan Buddhism. And so we're going to use this model of the 3 jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, as a way of looking at the similarities and differences between these different faiths. The exam board, it's worth looking back at the exam board and exactly what it says about A-level Buddhism in terms of these 2 bits of the course, 3.1, which was Theravada, and 3.2, which was Mahayana. And notice what's similar and what's different. For both Theravada and Mahayana, you have to know their emphases, that's their teaching, and their practices, their emphases and their practices, and how they shape religious identity. And you can read through the rest of those notes. Some of the key scholars, Gombrich and Gautama in Mahayana, and Basham and the Dalai Lama actually in Theravada. Okay, so let's move on. So we want to just do an introduction, a review, looking all the way back over what we've done over these last 2 units, looking at the 2, or better perhaps 3 yanas or vehicles, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, although the 3rd is a bit of the Cinderella tradition in this particular A-level. We really don't have lots of time to cover it, and yet the Dalai Lama is the named scholar, and it is a form of Mahayana, so I think it would be remiss not to have covered it. So we're going to look at it just for a little bit. Just to review these 3 ways of crossing the torrid river of samsara, these 3 methods or 3 rafts to cross samsara to get to enlightenment. Theravada, the lesser vehicle, as Mahayana claimed, Mahayana, the great vehicle, and Vajrayana as the diamond vehicle, each new iteration claiming it's better than the one before it. Theravada, referring to Way of the Elders, being referred to as Hinayana, or the lesser way in the polemics of emerging Mahayana thinking. This way, this raft, this yana is found in Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Southern Buddhism. Its teachings of the Buddha are most important. The focus is on the Buddha and his teachings, what he discovered, on meditation and on monastic life. The goal to become an arahat, a worthy one, as the ideal to strive for. Great vehicle, Mahayana, the largest division of Buddhism. There are more worldwide Mahayana Buddhists than anyone else. In northern Buddhism, you find in Japan, China, Korea. And it also focuses on the Buddha, and it describes him as a savior. This is this is different to Theravada. Salvation comes through the grace of the Buddha, the infinite grace of the Buddha, and bodhisattvas, other Buddhas, other bodhisattvas, who are the ideal types, known as Buddhas in the making. Compassion is the supreme virtue to be thought of. Vajrayana, Tibetan Buddhism, meaning Diamond Way Buddhism, implies that the Buddhas give out merit, and like a diamond. Their strength is like a diamond. In these traditions, nirvana can be achieved here and now by all of us, and its homeland is Tibet. The means of reaching nirvana is to harness the energy within oneself to repel oneself to enlightenment. So Theravada, some general features. This is doctrine of the elders. It considers itself classical Buddhism. It's very conservative, although aspects of Mahayana are just as conservative. It seeks to preserve traditions, texts. In early Buddhism, there's a lot of uniformity, a lot of emphasis on renunciation or monasticism, and the goal is to escape samsara through realizing Nibbana. General features of Mahayana, you'll find it in or Great Way Buddhism, as opposed to Hinayana, as itself describes Theravada, Little Way Buddhism. There's a lot of diversity, not unity. It's difficult to generalize. There are many modern forms of it: Zen, Pure Land, and Nichiren groups. It includes Tantric Buddhism, Tibetan, other, and so Vajrayana is often included in here as part of Mahayana. It emphasizes the Bodhisattva ideal. It choosing rebirth again and again in order to help other beings. Some of the ideal to strive for, the Bodhisattva ideal, there are these heavenly figures, these heavenly deities. Avalokitesvara is one of the main ones. And as Buddhism was transmitted into China, the ideal of Avalokitesvara went from a male form to a female form. And here we see Guyan as a hugely important figure in Chinese Buddhism, as the female form of Avalokitesvara. Theravada, if we move on in the three jewels from to the Buddha, to focus on the Buddha, in Theravada, the historical Buddha is the main focus of devotion. He's a guide, a teacher, an exemplar, but he's not a god. He's dead. He's not active in the world today. He can't answer your prayers. Relics are revered through stupas. We've looked at stupas. Maybe the tooth of the Buddha in Sri Lanka, the temple of the tooth, or some other relic of an important Buddha or historical place where the Buddha lived or was. Images or reminders, or in a kind of relical way. Devotion is what creates merit in Theravada Buddhism. And this image on the right is from Thailand. Notice the gold leaf on him. In Mahayana, the Buddha is a much expanded concept. It's really, we want to talk about Buddhas plural, not just Buddha. He is a trans-historical, even a cosmic presence. We'll look at this when we look at the Trakeya doctrine, remind yourself about that can influence the world. The Buddha remains active and can be encountered in visions and meditation. He may manifest in different times and forms and places. most importantly, Amitabha and others like Vairocana. Cosmic bodhisattvas are worshipped and prayed to, placated to get answers to prayer. So the Buddha as an idea, or at least as a heavenly being, is a continuing source of blessing, even salvation. In Pure Land Buddhism. On the right here we have a series of bodhisattvas. Notice in Japanese Pure Land Buddhism, notice they're holding a gift for you. They'll give you merit if you pray to them. Here's Amitabha in his Pure Land. He is the Lord of Light, of the Pure Land, and if you pray to him, he will transfer his plenteous, vast storehouses of merit to you to help you get to his Pure Land and thus automatically be enlightened when you get there. A little bit of summary then. So Theravada, its origins, believed to be the original form of Buddhism that followed the original Buddha, that's the claim at least. Certainly goes back a long way. Mahayana goes back also a long way, to 200 BC, perhaps, at least 100 BCE. Perhaps it represents the more liberal schools of Buddhism that emerged following the four councils of Buddhism. And then Vajrayana is the latecomer, 750 CE, as Buddhism spread to Tibet and mixed with the local religion of Bon. Areas of practice, of course, Theravada is southern Buddhism, so Sri Lanka in the main, Myanmar or Burma, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, South Vietnam. Mahayana is northern Buddhism, so spread to China, Korea and Japan. And Vajrayana as Buddhism was developed through Tibet, Nepal and Bhutan, the Himalayan Buddhism. The focus in Theravada is the cultivation of wisdom through the knowledge of the Four Noble Truths, the practice of the Eightfold Path, especially meditation, and there's an emphasis on monastic life, resulting in religious hierarchy. The Sangha consists of monks and nuns, and only they can achieve enlightenment. Lay people support the monks and nuns, the fourfold Sangha, by offerings. They make offerings and in turn make merit by making these offerings, and so following the example and teaching of the Buddha. And there are guidelines for monks and nuns which are very strict, including chastity, begging for food, giving up possessions, meditating, and pacifism. Mahayana, its focus is Buddhism for the masses, everyday Buddhism. Compassion for all living things, particularly for humans, as the supreme virtue. It doesn't hold monasticism as the only legitimate path, although you can be a monk, think Zen monks and so on. It focuses on the Buddha himself, celebrates him as a divine saviour. Vajrayana, much more wild kind of Buddhism, fighting fire with fire, harnessing the sensual energies of life and turning them against themselves. Practices include all kinds of things, mandalas, mudras, that's hand gestures, mantras, the repeated statements, and in rare cases, the yabiyam, ritualized tantric sex. And all of this is learnt through master-student relationships. Theravada, Way of the Elders, it has a particular view of the Buddha. He was a human who was enlightened and taught others. He's forever beyond reach now. He's passed to a place of eternal peace, as it were, in nirvana. He doesn't hear us, can't answer our prayers. His teachings are more important than he himself. Remember, the Buddha said, anyone who sees me sees my teachings. The Buddha's teachings, or the Dharma, is more important than the Buddha in Theravada. In Mahayana, the Buddha is more of just a historical figure, but he's There are many Buddhas in history who existed well before him and after him. Gautama is just one of many beings that are considered divine beings. Buddhahood is within all of us. It's everlasting. It creates new Buddhas from its power all the time. Every person is a potential Buddha. And Vajrayana is Tantric Buddhism, human who experienced enlightenment and then taught others how to do the same. Important individuals in Theravada. Well, the ultimate goal is to become an arahat, a worthy one, a saint who has achieved nirvana. Arahats are the ideal types that we should strive to imitate. Theravada rejects the idea of heavenly figures who help us. It's your own calling, your own path to follow. Mahayana believe in bodhisattvas, persons who have reached enlightenment but refuse to enter nirvana until everyone has achieved enlightenment, who answer our prayers, aid people as guides. These individuals are Buddhas in the making and can dwell on earth or in one of the Buddhist heavens, from where they deliver divine assistance and they transfer merit to those who worship him. In Vajrayana, lamas, think the Dalai Lama, are the most important individuals. They're religious leaders who reincarnate to help others out of compassion. Dalai Lama was the 14th of these lamas, who are emanations of Avalokitesvara, I believe. Scriptures. Theravada, the way of the elders, follows the early text, the Pali Canon, the Tripitaka, the three baskets, as the recorded sayings of the Buddha, or historical Buddhist documents. Mahayana is great vehicle Buddhism. The Tripitakas are the worthy scriptures, but there are other, including secret teachings of the Buddha and later Chinese and Tibetan writings. Vajrayana, Tibetan Buddhism, in English is known as Tantric Buddhism due to its reliance on sacred texts called Tantras. Liberation from the world. Enlightenment is achieved through individual effort, meditation, not worship, in Theravada. Mahayana believes in compassion, liberation for everyone. Salvation is offered through grace and compassion of the Buddha, transferred to us, as it were. Wisdom is attained through meditation, devotion to the Bodhisattva ritual, and spiritual exercises. And in Vajrayana Buddhism, to reach nirvana in a single lifetime rather than passing through countless lives before achieving salvation. In Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism, followers hope to gain enough merit in this life to be reincarnated or reborn into the next with better karma, thereby moving on. So, in summary then, Theravada is the way of the elders. It's a conservative movement. It follows the earliest texts. It tends to agree with the original teachings of the Buddha, doesn't question them. The Buddha experienced enlightenment and then taught others how to accomplish the same. The teachings of the Buddha, the Dharma, are the most important, more important than the Buddha. Focuses on the teachings of the Buddha to cultivate wisdom through the knowledge of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The heart of Theravada Buddhism is its community of monks, like we see on the right here. Mahayana, in summary, is the largest division of Buddhism, and half the world's population of Buddhists, more than half, is Mahayana. It focuses on the Buddha himself, it celebrates him as a divine savior, it opens the door to religious devotion and prayer, and offers salvation through the infinite grace of the compassionate Buddha. It recognizes salvific grace of all the Buddhas of the past, and in particular reveres bodhisattvas. In Mahayana, Buddhas in the making are one of the important questions. Are they dedicated to attaining enlightenment? Really, are they? Or are they just trying to be compassionate beings? Are they capable of entering into nirvana, but motivated by compassion to help others to achieve it? Do they exist rather in beyond the earthly realm and are believed to dwell in one of the Buddhist heavens, which they provide divine assistance to those who worship them? Can they transfer merit of their karma to their devotees? On occasion, it's believed they appear in the world as human beings. The ideal type rather than is an arahat. And compassion is the supreme virtue, more than wisdom. They vowed to enter nirvana until the last blade of grass has become enlightened.